Hi, I'm Jon Tsourakis with the Digital Mastermind. You're listening to The Climb. This is where agency owners and leaders tune in to get growth tips and strategies for growing their businesses. This is, in fact, episode 1, the very first and foremost. And today I'm speaking with David McGraw, who's the founder and CEO of youve. I should say that right, because I'm also an owner of youve. And David also happens to be my friend, as I just mentioned, business partner and a longtime member of the Digital Mastermind. Right now, we're talking about the format for this podcast, which today we're going to interview David, which he has a ton of insights. He's one of the smartest guys I know, and just a great person altogether. But I'd like to talk about some of the things that are going on in the marketing industry. And right now, one of the things that I see the most of is everybody is doing the exact same shit. They're literally all using the exact same playbook. And I think it's killing and it's hurting a lot of agencies. They're either A, following all the same people, or B, they're just not doing anything. And I hate this cliche, that's outside of the box. And on account of that, I think there's a lot of business owners that are probably, really upset with either themselves or their staff, and something's got to change. And hopefully it's something that this podcast and video series can help introduce some new strategies and tips, and just talk to some really great thought leaders and help people think through other ways of doing whatever it is that they do so they can be more effective at what they do. So I don't want to keep rambling. I'd like to get into this interview. I got some really good questions for Mr. McGraw here. So, David, are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, fantastic. All right, so the first thing I want to know is how did you get into this business?
Got into it just because I love solving problems. Started developing and being involved on the web early as 15, and really just it's exciting to get up every day and solve people's problems. I love it.
So what were you doing when you were 15 that online that got you into this?
Yeah, honestly, I had the #1 Aliens versus Predator website on GeoCities.
Dude, that is awesome, man. I never knew that.
Yep. And also I just like to make websites. I had all kinds of websites, and I don't know if you remember what was it, web rings?
I don't.
So a web ring is you'd insert a little chunk of code at the bottom of your web page, and it would link you to like-minded websites about the same topic. Because back in the day when I was 15, Google wasn't really a thing.
Right.
So you could ask Jeeves, but you weren't really going to get any good search results. So to get found, you had to be a part of a web ring, and at the bottom of each page would be next and previous buttons, and it would take you to the next site in the ring. It was awesome.
I think, yeah, you're more advanced than me, because I now recall this thing existing. I just didn't realize it was called web rings. Yeah, I just thought it was like, all right, next. We're going next.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it.
Was there
fun?
So it was GeoSites, you said?
GeoCities, right?
GeoCities.
Or is it GeoSites?
I think it was GeoSites. I remember that, yeah, because that's how I first got into it. I made one for a band. And wasn't there another one that was like Home something?
Home something. Not that I know of. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I could down and do some research on it, but I think it's irrelevant at this point. All right. So you've been in business since 2008. And what would you say is the biggest reason you've been able to make it 10 years?
Well, I'd say for a vast majority of this, the entire economy has been on a rebound. It was risky and challenging starting the business smack dab in a recession, but that gave me a really strong advantage because it was just me and I didn't have a lot of expenses. So I was able to compete with people that had a shrinking top, revenue line with all these expenses. So they couldn't compete with my price point. So the first 4 or 5 years of Oyova, it was just picking up projects that people need senior level and expert level talent, but just couldn't afford it because that recession was so killer. So being able to do that in the first 5 years was great. After that, it was kind of solidifying that agile approach into a more professional package where we focused on customer service. So everything we did was make sure that the customer felt like they were part of the process and that they weren't getting talked down to, and easy to work with. Just be the easiest company to work with. With that, it just kept our customers loyal.
Kept your customers loyal, so you kept the current customers you had. Like if we were to look at this like a house you were building, brick by brick, keeping your customers as well as getting referrals from your customers.
Yeah, that's how we've grown the entire history of Oyova was just referral, word of mouth, and every customer was an opportunity to do an amazing job so that they tell somebody else.
Whoa. And did you ever have any customers that were like just really loud, screaming and bringing in a ton of business, what I would call a referral hub?
That's the ideal scenario. I don't think I've ever got someone like that, simply because every one of my clients is running their own business. So they're doing that for their own brand and their own business. I definitely have some people that have referred us a good amount of business. I think those are more like our channel partners, where it's not necessarily our client, but more so of companies that we've partnered with that just go hand in hand. People that, have an expertise that we don't have. So we've partnered up a lot on a lot of projects. I think we have some real strong cheerleaders and some channel partners like that.
Okay. Did you in those 10 years ever ask for referrals?
Oh, of course.
Okay. I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make. They just hope that they're going to get referrals rather than asking for them. So that can be a big contributor. All right. So that's essentially the last 10 years. Where do you see Oyova in the next 10 years?
Really, I think it's about building out different services and expanding our offerings. We were very narrow casted for a lot of our years. So now it's time to expand on what we can offer to customers and get into new expertise. And with that, I think we'll see more overlap in, like, let's say dev and marketing services. So we're going to be able to bring a higher value proposition to our customers because we have 2 expertise hubs instead of just one. So that's the push.
Okay. So yeah, traditionally you're more in dev, and then now you're going to cross the bridge between dev and marketing, making sure that you're moving those 2 machines in the direction that you want for your clients.
I even want to get into content production and video production and some of the more traditional talents, but just be amazing at it.
So video production, that's something that obviously isn't going anywhere. It's everywhere. How do you plan on taking that on?
Honestly, it'll probably be an acquisition move. We'll find a partner that is looking to grow, has the right attitude, culture, just the right fit, and hopefully we can find a partner that just wants to be a part of a common cause.
So insofar, what would you look for? Like, how do you measure your culture against theirs? This is something I always find intriguing. To me, it's like that feeling. I mean, can you say how you would go about that?
Yeah, that's tough. Everyone's got their own culture. Everyone's does their own thing. Culture evolves. It changes based on the people you have. So it is hard to measure, like, based on what, I guess if you ask somebody what their culture is, you still have to kind of find out what it is, because what they want it to be might not be what it is. And it changes a lot. And we notice it in here. It changes a lot. Especially just as your team matures and works together longer and has more experiences outside of work. So it really, I think, just takes authentically seeing it. I mean, you kind of either know it's working or not. And I think that would mean I'd have to do some, common projects, shared events, things like that, and just see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, and this is, whether it was on this, podcast or somewhere else, it's something I've always tried to nail down. And then tell me if this resonates at all. Is culture literally like a combination between the way a business does something and executes upon it, right? And and I hate saying it like this, but the likability of the people they work with, right? Because if you don't like certain people, that's like, oh, our culture sucks, right? But it's just
Yeah.
like, people just don't like each other. And then if they don't execute properly, it's usually a culture problem. I don't, those are the two things when I look at culture, if I had to really distill it, and maybe that's entirely too distilled.
No, it's 100%. Even think about like an ex-employee. You could have the best culture
Mm-hmm.
and you lose an employee or an employee leaves, and then they tell everybody, oh, the culture there is terrible. Well, everyone that's still here thinks it's great, but you didn't enjoy it. So you're going to tell me that the culture was terrible or toxic. I guess, you try to address it with exit interviews, but you also have to balance it against the average. Cause like, we see that all the time. We have our core and maybe it's a clicky, maybe it's hard to get into that core culture, but,
Yeah, it's likability. It's like regulars at a bar or something to some extent, and they do what they're supposed to do. They pay for their drinks. They make sure they don't go wild and crazy,
I,
and they welcome others into the establishment.
I think that the key, with our culture, we're very result oriented and talent oriented. So, I mean, if you're good at your job, and I don't mean you have to be a 15-year vet, but if you show that you can be talented, then you're going to be accepted in our culture. Like we can sniff out talkers a mile away. And if I bring, as the person that's supposed to build this team, if I bring in a talker, then my team is going to let me know I screwed up.
So how is it? Just is that how you sniff them out? Is it just the cacophony and the loud roar of everybody, or is there any other way you do it?
I mean, most of the time I can feel it out before it gets to that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, you can definitely tell it's the person that never joins us on a company event. I mean, we like to do at least 4 events throughout the year. That's not company mandatory, but company sponsored, and we're paying for it, and the team is the one that puts the votes on it and decides what we're going to do. So if we got somebody that's not showing up to the thing that the team decided on consistently, then that's a red flag. There's lots of ways to determine that, but as long as you focus on the culture setters, the trend setters in the team, everything else will be fine. You're the people that you can, rely on to guide the culture. And how I, built it was I had a couple employees that kept coming to me asking about, hey, can we do a lunch and learn? Or, hey, can we do a lunch for the new guy? And I said, do it. You do it. And because I can't be the main coordinator of every little event that we want to put on, we have a budget for that stuff. Just coordinate it. Like, if you can pick the food, order it, and I'll pay for it. But it takes that initiative to make sure somebody else is doing it, because I can't be the team coordinator for that stuff all the time.
So you got to resign yourself from ownership of cultural events, so to speak.
I think it should bubble up, not down.
I know a lot of agencies now like assign somebody where it's like, I'm the chief of culture, or,
Yeah. That just sounds like such new fandangled stuff. I'm such an old school business person that I like dealing with tried and true practices. If I were to hire anything with a chief of, lollipops, I'm sure there's somebody in Silicon Valley that's chief of snacks. You'll never see that from me ever at all. Like, it's all going to be pretty strict, and all those other fun things need to come from bottom up.
So it's real, right? And I get that, right? So maybe there's these other places that don't have the culture that you have, right? And they've tried to instill this, whether that's, disingenuous or not, may prove, to be something else. But
Right.
it sounds like you made good hires and you were lucky enough for them to want to, do some kind of activity that would foster culture, and you recognize the opportunity, pass that on to them, and they were able to, take it for what it's worth.
Sure. And I've definitely been through phases where our culture was terrible. Not terrible, but just not excited and just not engaged. And, that's, you have to treat it like a job then. Still got to get it done. And there's, we've definitely seen lots of different phases. But when we have a group of people working together the way they are right now, I'll do whatever it takes to keep this current team together. We are rock stars right now.
And that's a testament to activities and just the likability and a lot of the other factors we just mentioned.
Yep. I mean, it could single-handedly be tied to playing Mario Kart at lunch every Friday because that's what they do, and I don't even care. Like,
That is a great game.
yeah.
So, all right, if it sounds like culture is not a concern for 2020, what is one of your biggest concerns then?
Let's see. Biggest concern.
The year ahead.
Yeah, that's tough. I haven't even really got my mindset onto 2020 yet. Like, I'm firmly planted on let's wrap this year up with a bow and make it feel great. We're just, Thanksgiving's a couple days away. We got our company Christmas party a week away. Then we have, Christmas and New Year's. I really try to focus on enjoying the year that was. We had a phenomenal year. We worked really hard and accomplished a lot of things. And before I even move past it, I want to make sure that we enjoy what we did. I mean, this year was a big year. We merged with Revital.
Great company.
Great company.
Yeah.
It's why we merged with them. But to just go on past that and not celebrate that would be I think, a disservice to the company and to everybody in it, because we all worked really, really hard to make this successful. And so, all right, challenges in 2020 or things that worry me is, all the goodwill that we've established and all the successes maybe falter a little bit.
Okay. And it sounds like the way that you've done things, you've done it so organically and just quarter by quarter that maybe that's just too far ahead.
Yeah. And I think that comes from my development background where we just can't plan a year ahead. It is quarter to quarter because things change. You have to be agile. You have to be able to change your strategy. So yeah, I definitely don't foresee planning on what my June 2020 looks like. I have no clue right now.
Yeah. And and having a background that you have a reason for it. Whereas I know there's other business owners where it's just, they're lazy, or B, it's just, there's no planning or strategy anywhere in what it is that they do.
But I also think a lot of that work's busy work. If you want to have a giant, I've been a part in Fortune 500 companies. I was flown to London, a whole week of planning. It was all about the next year's vision and, all of that rah-rah stuff. And I'm fairly certain everything that we decided in that meeting was scrapped within like 3 months. So what the hell was the point? It felt good. It felt like it was a show of here's what we're doing. Look at this. But the reality is nobody really actually wanted to do the steps to accomplish what it took to make a dramatic impact. Because if you focus on the end result, then you'll lose all the steps that it takes to get there. And if I want to run a successful project, I start with the step one, first step, accomplish that. Step two, accomplish that. Now, I understand you have to have the vision, the goal in mind. But if you focus on the end result, you'll fail to deliver the proper things early on, and frustration will tell you to scrap it, and nothing happens.
So you focus on the first step and the next step, so on and so forth?
Yep.
Whereas others potentially, because I know there's like an argument for others where they say like, okay, just focus on that goal and everything will just come together.
Horse stuff.
You can say whatever you want on this, man.
It doesn't work for me. There's
Okay.
plenty of styles that work for other people. It does not work for me.
Okay. All right. So what so would you say that's a mistake? And this question, the question I want to ask is, what mistake do you see so many other marketing agencies making? Would it be
Um,
that vision planning? Because that seems like it's really sexy. There's a lot of, talk about, your vision, and a lot of people talk about culture, but I don't think that they really understand it. I think it's like I said, it's just like, all right, yeah, what is our club cool to hang out with, and do we get the stuff done?
I think the number one thing marketing agencies are doing that's not really to their advantage is they're not really getting the experience and the technical aspects of what we're doing. I mean, so many agencies went from a marketing agency to a digital agency and thought they're just going to be a marketing company on the internet, and didn't take the time to understand what the internet was, or, how web pages are made, or what's a content management system. Like, there's so many components to this world now. And there's a lot of marketing agencies that we can tell are fish out of water that really just want to design a mailer. And, they're trying to talk to us about websites, but, they're just, they need to develop that skill set, and they're not evolving to the technical level they need to.
So the solution would be to develop that skill set, or is there anything more concise or concrete that you could recommend?
Well, I mean, it's hard to train technical prowess. I mean, you just you need to have somebody, and I think you need to have somebody in leadership that is a technical in background person. That is their primary, and teach them marketing and thinking like a marketer. Right? If you had a technical person that could think like a marketer, that's your sweet spot, in my opinion. A marketer that thinks technical is going to get you into trouble
Yeah, I
because
agree with that.
they don't really understand the consequence of the technical decision, and you're going to end up with a ton of technical debt and expense.
Yeah. So someone that's technical that can think like a marketer. And it's kind of akin to, they say, and maybe there's some parallels here, like all great copywriters think like art directors, and all great art directors think like copywriters or designers, however you want to use that phrasing.
Sure.
Yeah, but I agree with, I know plenty of marketers that think technically, and it's not a beautiful output. All right, so you only have onshore talent with predominantly your developers, because I mean that's a lot of your staff. Granted, you have some creatives on there located in your 2 locations in Florida. So how do you expect to compete with so much foreign labor in the development and marketing space?
I think it's the same answer that happens with every industry and every company. Is quality and customer service. It doesn't matter if it's being sold by a competitor across town or overseas. What's your value proposition? Why do people want to work with you? Are you the easiest person to work with? We are the easiest team to work with that produces the highest quality. It's not the highest quality. We're not the easiest team. We're the easiest team that produces the highest quality. Like that Venn diagram. We want to be those two things and be the best at those two things in combination, because individually, just being the highest quality is not necessarily producing the best value. Not everybody can afford the highest quality, and being the easiest to work with might be terrible quality. So it's, if you can do that and make your client look like a rock star, and they know you have their back, then you've got a customer.
Got it. It sounds like the triangle, right? I forget these things. What is it? The project manager triangle. You can have it, fast.
Cheap,
Yeah.
fast, cheap, or quality. Pick
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what it
Yeah.
is. So along those lines, how do you acquire talent? to, fulfill on this?
Well, ideally they come to us because they want to work on interesting projects. But, we've done the recruiter route. We've done the self-recruiting. I contact people on LinkedIn that look like a fit culturally and talent-wise. But the best hires are the ones that reach out to us. So,
yeah,
they're coming to us. We vet them, and, we're excited to give people a chance. We look for hungry talent that wants to learn. We're kind of an educational development organization. So we really like training and teaching. So we're just looking for people that are hungry to learn and start a career in web development or marketing. We can teach anyone what they need to learn. They just need to be able to learn really well.
How do you gauge hunger?
That's really tough. And I don't know if there's any easy way to do it. You can just, hunger is someone that constantly suggests solutions. When they run into a problem, do they just say, yeah, I don't know? That's not hungry.
Right.
They're not trying to figure something out. If somebody says, hey, what about this? And we're like, yeah, that's not really going to work. And they just get defeated, that's not really hungry. But if they constantly keep throwing solutions at it, yeah, that's somebody I want to work with. As long as we can work through it and get, come up with ideas and test them and see if they're going to work, and we keep coming up with new ideas, that's good.
So grit also might be a good word. Because, somebody could be, a little bit hungry but get satiated, right? When you're like, yeah, great idea, Carl. On to the next one.
I just had to do an interview for an entry-level position, and I just kept scaring him with what he's about to go into, because I'm like, fast pace, crazy amount of projects. Customers are contacting you all the time. Like, I need them to understand that it could get crazy. That's not how we operate. But in an interview, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, because I want them to come in with the expectation of, oh shit, this is going to be serious. And then it's not so bad, rather than them coming in thinking this is going to be great. And then, wait, what do you mean I have to pivot projects? I want them in a prove it mentality. Do you belong?
Set the right expectation.
Yeah.
This was a new hire?
A new interview. We haven't offered him yet.
That's what I was going to ask. How's that working out? Yeah.
We're still working on strategy of if we want to go entry level or more senior. He's definitely gotten the thumbs up from the hiring team. So right now it's just more about strategy.
How do you gauge that from the hiring team? Do they interview him as well?
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to the projects that we have upcoming and what kind of level we need. Do we have the runway to train somebody up, or do we need somebody hitting the ground running and productive as can be right off the bat? So just a formula.
And I know you have women developers on your staff too, right?
Yeah, of course.
I would say, of course. Yeah, that's the difference there, right? That's not normal, which I think is that's a really cool thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend is turning, but you're right. Most of my career I've been working with guys, but we're definitely seeing a lot more women in the STEM, graduating from the STEM fields or into the STEM fields, and I think it's great.
I don't know what a STEM field is. What is that?
Science, technology, engineering, mechanics.
Mechanics? Wow.
It's basically all the engineering style degrees that developers or engineers. And never heard of STEM?
No, dude. And it's sad. Like, and I'm a very transparent person. I'm going to hear that everywhere now. And
you will.
And whoever listens to this is like, dude, how the hell did he not know what STEM is?
There's a great website that you should check out. There's a great website you should check out that talks about it all the time. It's called LinkedIn.com. It's all over it.
Really? I thought you were going to say Wikipedia. Okay. Good to know.
Google.
STEM is all over LinkedIn?
Yes.
Like
I get, maybe it's because
I think it's your algorithm. You got a boring engineering algorithm.
I was just going to say that. Maybe it's me. And I see ads for STEM degrees and STEM recruiting, and
maybe they want you to sign up. I don't know. That's interesting.
Well, let's do a live look in the trends.
Let's do a live look David McGraw's LinkedIn. Here we go, everyone. For those not able to view, we're looking at David's face before he shares his screen.
Well, no, I'm just going to Google Trends and looking.
Oh, you're not going to share your screen with us? Oh,
No.
Google Trends. Got it. Yeah. All right.
Let's see from. Yeah, not really an increase at all. That's kind of strange.
Yeah. Different circles, man. Different circles. It's okay. All right.
Wow.
You just educated me and maybe, a small percentage of our audience, because apparently everybody may have known this.
Well, here we go.
I think that's also a strength. If you don't know something, a lot of people just play with it. It's
Sure.
I think it's important. Just, you might some people might think you're a clown, but they're judgmental. Keep moving.
If you look at trends.google.com and search for women in STEM, you see a nice steady increase all the way from like 2008 to now. Over the last 10 years, just steady increase.
Well, I think it's mainly technology, though. I know there's been a lot of talk about having more women in technology. And to some respects, is it a good old boy club? Is it something that was sexist? I don't know. We don't need to get into those things. I mean, unless you want to.
Well, my favorite topic is like, I don't know, it was like 6 years ago, or basically like when the movie, The Social Network, the movie about Facebook came out.
Yeah.
The big fun term there was brogrammers.
Programmers.
Because, typically a programmer is going to be the nerd with that, sits in the dark and codes and doesn't have any friends. And that's what it was for a period of time. I mean, take a look at Steve Wozniak from Apple. I mean, that's a nerd. Well, it started to become cool to code, right? Now it's Silicon Valley is full of brogrammers, and I think it's hilarious. It's just a funny term. It just represents the bro that wants to code.
You got it, Broseph. Professor. Yeah. Bro J. Simpson. Bro Chacho.
All right.
I don't think that is going to help the culture insofar as allowing more women in it. But I think it's a good point. So what is your best, tip, trick, or productivity hack for agency owners, business owners, or anybody, looking to do what you do?
Let's see. Greatest productivity hack that's tough. I'd like to say have a mastery of your numbers. It sounds like a CPA would tell you that, but I just think it's important to know where you're at. It shouldn't take you a long time to find out what your profit margin is, right? So I want to be able to train my team. I want to be able to give them the right equipment. I want to make sure that our offices are, engaging environments. I want to make sure that we can buy lunch for the team every once in a while. Like all those things, you need to know if you can do that ahead of time. I see people do things and then 2 weeks later they freak out because they lost a client, or maybe a client's paying late, and then they're regretting all those nice things they did, and they're going to be what's the term we're looking for? Shell shocked and doing those in the future because it might impact. Like for me, I have my budget. It's already accounted for. We have X amount of dollars set aside to do team building events. I am going to spend that every single time without worry.
So having your hands on the dial, so to speak, of your business is a much more efficient way and productive way to run it.
Right, because it takes the emotionality out of it as well. I don't want to rely on what it feels to make a decision. Just, I want the decision to be based on strategy. Is this the best way to spend that dollar? Are we going to get the most team building ROI out of it? We're going to spend X amount of dollars on team building no matter what, rather than should we do team building or not.
So do you find have you created, I look at that as a system, right? So have you found that you've created other systems that remove emotionality so you can make more logical decisions anywhere else?
I think the whole business runs like that. Our manager, our team leads all run off a set of worksheets that are built from their numbers. They know exactly what their compensation is going to be based on that number. I'm not going to have a discussion with them about their salary at all. If they want more money, they know the formula on how to go achieve that. And it's up to them. It's not impossible. So there's a lot of things that I try to distill it down to that, and then, but when you build the pattern, I have to identify the flaws, which is really interesting. I do sometimes see the flaws of the systems I create. And, I think it's impossible to create the perfect system because you'll always find an issue. Like, for example, I've incentivized my team to bring in as much revenue as possible for their team. And that creates the unintended consequence of some teams don't like to close out projects in a timely manner because starting a new project adds revenue. Closing out a project doesn't. So there's a flaw. So then we have to then add something to say, well, here you get a negative or a positive bonus based on closing out projects on time. Right. And then I'm sure, once we take that step, that's going to cause some other unintended consequence. So there's no perfect system out there, but try to be good. And that's all you can ask for.
Just solve every problem as it comes up and try to be as much of a
fair.
Be what? Say that again?
Be fair.
Say more about that.
Well, I mean, recent example, we had an employee come in, and because of the way a project ran, most of the money paid for the project had already come in. Yet most of the effort has not been worked on. Well, this team received bonus already based on that project. And so now they're kind of annoyed that the work that they're going to have to be doing is not going to be compensated anymore because they were. And I just had to break that down and explain to them that, they actually got more already, and because they weren't really aware of that. And I just said that I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I could take it to the nth degree of being extremely strict and saying, no, you're not getting paid on bonus until the work is done. But then that adds a lot of, extra steps and creates a tough process to execute on. And then it becomes a chore, and then everything's gone. So I just kind of explained it to them. This is how it's fair. This is how it's easy and fair. We'll win the day every day.
And is that so? Okay, so I'd say that is a pillar in your culture, right? That's an expectation that everybody has of leadership and those around them.
Yep.
So okay, and I definitely want to hear a little bit more about culture. Maybe I'm beating this thing to death. So you have this fair, maybe that's in the core value system. You have events. What are some of the other ways that you foster culture?
Well, like I told you, I don't. That's my team's job now. I just give them the ability to do it. They pick.
I know. I guess maybe what I'm getting at is I remember one time you told me a story about making sure that you were protecting, and maybe it was just, the workflow where you had lost a project or something. And
right. Well, I think what you're referring to is, we lost our biggest client at the time. And it was 85% of our revenue. And, internally I'm freaking out, but I knew that I had to keep my team or I was going to lose my company. And so what I did is I created a project that was fake, with a fake company, with fake goals, and I created a project plan and everything, and told my team, all right, just signed a client. We got to do this, and they were all for it. And for about 2 months, they worked on developing this platform based on fake specs and this fake project. And, and then meanwhile, I'm just out there hustling, trying to find another project. And I did actually sell a real project. So we were able to just toss that one onto the, to the side. And, my team was all concerned about, what about this other project? And I said, oh, don't worry about that. We're on to the next one. And yeah, I had to end up telling them a couple months later that was just made up. And I was just doing it I did not want to field questions about, are we going to close? Are we going to be out of a job. My job as a leader for the culture that I want to run here is to make sure that my team is not concerned with if they have a job or not. I want them
Wow.
here. I want them focused on doing good work.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that is what related to culture. And I think that's maybe one of the strengths that maybe you have as a leader or that you've instilled into your company. Kind of, all right, let's do whatever it takes to make sure that, we stay afloat.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you, when you're not doing any of this, what do you do to let loose?
I'm a huge football fan. I'm a president of a fan club, the New England Patriots of Jacksonville.
You just lost 31 other
Yeah.
cities. Yeah.
It's something I'm passionate about. I love getting out on the water. And I just had a beautiful brand new baby daughter that's 6 weeks old today. So super excited to have our first Thanksgiving with her.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Makes
So
it all worthwhile.
all worthwhile. Yeah, I have a dog. So, and so it's essentially family, football, water. What about like checking emails at night or anything like that? Are you a 24-hour work guy?
You used to be at the beginning, not anymore. You got to check out. You got to separate it. I'm very adamant about telling clients we are not 24/7. You can call if it's an emergency, but I'm not checking an email. I don't expect my team to. Just had a situation today where somebody wanted to take something live the week of December 20th, which also includes New Year's. Maybe it was the 20 or the 30th. Either way, like the week of New Year's this year falls on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And so being smack dab in the middle, you got a lot of people taking Monday, Tuesday off or Thursday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to take switch a major infrastructure from Azure to AWS. That's a large undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
And while we can do a lot of prep work, when we switch that over, there could be all kinds of things that go wrong. And I basically told the client that's a non-starter because I am not going to be put in a situation where I have to beg my employees to come off of holidays to fix things that we didn't want to do that week anyways. So we are now doing it the week of January the 6th because everyone's going to be in the office. And I really hate that for some reason we have this notion in the IT world that we have to have new things for January 1st. Nobody's in January 1st. And everyone's out. If anything goes wrong, it's a royal pain in the ass. And you want to lose employees? Tell them to quit their family holiday early, and I need you to get online and fix something. That's how you lose employees.
How challenging was it to convince the client to move it into the first week in January?
I just flat out told them that be prepared to solve this on your own when we're not available. And if you are, we will then help, but we will not be available to help you outside of business hours or on holidays.
And they at that point, they were like, okay, hey, it makes sense.
Correct. That scared them to say, nope, they do not want that responsibility.
All right. Yeah. Logic prevails.
Yep.
All right. So is there anything else that we didn't cover that the world should know about you? Do you have anything going on that you'd like to promote?
We're steady working hard on a new project that we picked up a year ago called Jobs in Sports, putting a lot of effort into it. It's a job resource center for the sport industry. That goes beyond just head coaches and, on-field jobs. We're talking about social media for a soccer team or event coordinator. I mean, there's a million jobs that these sport industries need or these franchises require, but they get buried in Indeed or they get buried in monster.com. So we're trying to serve specifically to the sports industry and really want to create a LinkedIn experience for the sports industry with jobsinsports.com. So really excited about that, and we're seeing a lot of progress with that.
All right. So other than jobsandsports.com, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for a new project or just hear your thoughts on anything else, how can they go about doing that?
You can always hit me up at my website, oyova.com. That's OYOV as in Victor, A.com. Or my email, david.mcgraw@oyova.com. Always available to help, assist, whatever it is. Answer questions.
All right, right on. And last question, how do you feel about people using very powerful words to describe the letters? For instance, instead of saying V as in Victor, people would say V as in victory. You haven't heard this? Like C as in champion.
I have, and it instantly throws me into bullshit mode. Like
totally, man. People do that. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, like you need to be at that level to pump yourself up. Like
Yeah,
I'm saying V is in victory because historically victory is the word for V. Like that's,
yeah,
I don't know. That's weird.
All right, right on, man. All right, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today.
This was great.
It's been a lot of fun. All right, cool, man. All right, bud. I'll talk to you real soon. Thanks again.